For today's video, I decided to head on to Craigslist for the first time in a while to check in on my local cesspool. But first, today's video is sponsored by Micro Center, which is not only the best retailer for all things PC hardware related, but they're also offering a coupon for new customers to get a Creality Ender 3 S1 3D printer for only $149 US. Micro Center's also opening a new store in Charlotte, which is somewhere in North America, and if you go there in person, you can get a free 128 gig flash drive. But they're also launching Micro Center News. Micro Center News is all the Micro Center you love, but with the news. Check out these offers using the link in the video description. The moment I went onto my local Craigslist, I immediately realized why I never go PC shopping on my local Craigslist. People are crazy, thinking they can get thousands of dollars for 15-year-old systems just because it says workstation in the name. One of them did tickle me though. Someone listed the trash can Mac Pro that I looked at in a recent video as a gaming system, so that was pretty good. But after spending ages wading through the ocean of delusional listings, I made a realization. I don't think there aren't deals to be had in the local area. I think there's just a bunch of real sweaty deal hunters that snatch up all of the good listings the moment that they go up. I think if you want a good deal, you have to be real vigilant, because anything that's been up for more than like an hour and a half just is trash because nobody's bought it yet. But as a very lazy person, let's see what I was able to scrounge up from my local Craigslist in 2024. And after going on Craigslist maybe 2 or 3 times in 24 hours, I ended up with this system, which aside from having a Corsair case that clearly dates it, it had some ominous signs of a potential tumultuous upbringing. Oh, this has a Canada Computer sticker on it, which means maybe it was a pre-built or they built it for the person. That should be interesting. Okay, yeah, so you can undo them by hand if you use the power and grip of a Greek mountain god. That's not an ideal design, to be honest. Acrylic? Oh, now through the smoked acrylic, it did look well put together, but there are some weird choices in here. Oh, it smells weird in here. Okay, so I've had a bit of a look around, and I guess they kind of didn't have a choice but to use these fan headers and RGB headers for the fans on the AIO radiator. But still, that does look kinda butt cheeks going on here. I think I'm gonna have to take the radiator out to see to what extent I can judge whoever built this PC, but I'll do that after we test it. Now when it comes to the specs of our Craigslist system, CPU-wise, we've got a Ryzen 7 2700X in it, which has been dropped in what looks like a Gigabyte B450M DS3 motherboard, which is a very McDonald's dollar menu motherboard, but it gets the job done. I think it was quite popular when it came out, when it was kind of in production. And then the graphics card is some Gigabyte variant of the RTX 2060 Super, a graphics card that, as far as I remember, holds up pretty well for 1080p gaming, but we will see later in the video. We also get 16 gigs of RAM, a bunch of storage. It's also got a CX650 power supply in it, which is power supply, and we get an AIO. Ooh, fancy. Now I got all this system for 850 Canadian dollars off of Craigslist, which feels like quite a lot to me. Now, there did seem to be some slightly better deals when it comes to higher end systems, but the reason I wanted to stay in this price point is because I recently built a brand new gaming system for a very similar amount. So later in the video, we will be able to compare the performance of those two to see how much value we're actually getting here compared to a new system. But before we do that, let's see how it performs. Luckily, the previous owner graced us with a clean Windows install, but there was immediately something a little concerning. Ooh, there's a fan that sounds like an 18th century canal boat in there. That's not a good sign. canal boat noises aside, clean Windows is always a joy to behold on these systems. And our dual channel RAM kit was running at its rated speed. With that, I downloaded Cinebench R20, which didn't quite do what I was expecting it to. It was running slower than the previous generation version of the same chip, and the reason for this humiliation was because it was just running at its base frequency. And any attempts to push it higher than that in the motherboard's BIOS just led to Windows not posting. Our little cheapo motherboard really showing what it's made of here, which concerningly gave us a very similar result to the 6-core Ryzen 5500 in the new system we bought for about the same amount, which is the component we compromised on in that system, so hopefully the gaming goes better. That's a lot of patriotism right there. That's exciting. Okay, so I'm gonna do medium. We've got motion blur turned off, and we're running at native 1080p. No DLSS, even though there is an option for that. It's about 70 frames per second with not a whole lot going on in the scene. That's not great, to be honest, but it feels pretty good. And you can see, aside from the occasional spike, we've got pretty good frame time happening. And even here with a lot more insect murdering happening, it's never really dipped below 60 frames per second, which again, isn't great, but it feels very usable. This is a very playable result in a game that looks very good. And if we want a higher frame rate, we can DLSS it up and maybe drop the settings even more. Oh, and I just noticed the graphics card's not very happy. The combination of the case airflow with that Gigabyte card is not great. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to repaste that graphics card later to see if it quells the fires. Now with Fortnite, I'm using DX11 because DirectX 12 is a stuttery, unusable mess in this game. But yeah, at 1080p low settings with epic draw distance, this is very playable. We're getting well over 120 frames per second, which for most gaming monitors, that is enough. Interestingly, we do seem to be a little bit CPU bound, I guess, because our graphics card isn't doing a whole lot. But it is boosting a little bit higher than it was during the Cinebench run, so that's interesting. But yeah, graphics card not doing much, although that did help the temperatures, which is good. I then moved over to Battlefield 5 so we can start our comparison to the new system. Now straight off the bat with little Craig here, the graphics card did get very hot very quickly, but we didn't lose too much core frequency, it just occasionally dipped below 1800 MHz. But when it comes to performance, the new system actually had a slight edge over the used one, which is really not what you want to be seeing. Bear in mind, Battlefield 5 does have some inappropriate adult feelings for AMD graphics cards, and when we switch over to Cyberpunk, the tables do turn quite a bit. Old Mr. Craig does manage to put the whippersnapper in its place here. But then when you go to The Last of Us, the whippersnapper manages to close the gap between the two significantly again. That's not great. I feel like for a used system to make sense, it needs to do unspeakable things to a similarly priced new variant. But with that, let's do some basic maintenance like repasting the GPU to see if that helps. Either way, we'll find out how much we can judge whoever built this system. Now the first thing I want to do is remove this radiator so that we can see to what extent we can judge the person who built this system for whatever's happening down here. Now we can at least semi-judge them because there is a CPU fan header up here and they could have used a splitter so that they didn't have to plug the fan in here, but you'd still have the problem of the RGB header. But wait, let me try quickly route it around the top so that it's not just straight in the middle here. Let's see if that works. Wait, does it even look better? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit neater. Next, let's repaste the graphics card to see if we can help its slight combustion issue. So this is our Gigabyte 2060 Super after its mild blowjob. It looks a little bit better. It's still a bit dusty, but you know, what can you do? Wow, that is a huge die for a 60 series card with some bone dry thermal paste on it. So repasting it should at least do something. none of the RGBs turned on. Turns out I just plugged the RGB cable in the wrong way around. Oh, that has started out very promising. We haven't even hit 70 degrees Celsius yet. But let's give it a moment. Let's play for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and then we'll see. Okay, so it's been a while, and it's only made a bit of a difference. It does occasionally get up to 83 degrees Celsius, but it hovers a little bit lower, and we're losing a teeny bit less actual core frequency. Which means performance-wise, we didn't really gain anything. So not exactly what I'd call a successful Craigslist find. Like I said before, I'm sure you can find some decent deals on my local Craigslist, but you have to be willing to get real down and dirty with that Craigslist knife battling. With that, let me know what deals you were able to find on your local Craigslist, and until the next video, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.